You know what's driving me nuts?
That I'm the better looking one?
No. Waiting to check out at the grocery store. When I'm hungry, my instincts kick in and I just want to smash through the line.
Well, you should make things safer for all of us and try almonds. They have 4 grams of hunger-slaying fiber, which can be game-changing, even for a man of your stature.
Not a bad idea. But what if I'm in line waiting to buy almonds?
Stick to the self-checkout and remember to breathe.
California almonds. Own your everyday. Every day.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Well, I don't know if we could start a hump day better than Rosie Come Out Tonight.
That's pretty impressive.
Bruce Springsteen. Cliff, our cookmaster. Well done to you, sir. Nicely done.
It's a good thing that Jason Fitz isn't filling in today since he thinks the boss is overrated.
Yeah, what is that about? Someone who apparently was in the air quotes music industry doesn't understand that Bruce Springsteen is a legend.
Yeah. More like the fiddle industry.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
More like the banjo industry. I don't know what's going on there.
What?
Anyway, glad you're with us on a Wednesday morning. I don't know. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, and ESPN2 for the first 2 hours of the show. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. We got stuff today, man.
We have got stuff. We have got good stuff. And
turn your mic on. You are a professional.
who did that? Was that Mike?
It was me.
Way to go.
It was me.
You almost ruined the moment because the stuff we're going to start with is this. Woo!
This is the song. We come out with the boss.
Yeah.
And then we go this song to announce this occasion.
Come on, Trey. Put your hands in the air like you just don't care.
I can say with great certainty I don't care.
Come on. It's Wingo's birthday.
All right.
Woo!
Yeah.
Are you one of those, in all honesty, that do you celebrate now? I mean, we're both in our 50s.
No.
Do you, outside of wanting some sort of pastry product like a cake, do you do anything?
No.
When did you stop?
Oh, like
20s?
Yeah, something like that. We had a big one for my 40th, and that was about it.
For your 40th?
Yeah.
Not 50?
Oh, no, 50 was much more casual.
It was more casual than 40.
Yeah, in fact, I think the only thing I did on my 50th birthday is you guys called me.
Yeah.
You and Greenie called me, and I was on the golf course.
Right.
So there you go.
Okay.
So
a shocker.
Yeah, I know. You said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm on the golf course.
So what'd you do for your 60th birthday?
Oh.
That was last year.
That is hurtful.
I don't remember.
What about from the young end? Now, your birthday's coming up in, 9 days? And you're going to be 29?
Whoa.
29?
Whoa.
Yeah, September
we're that close?
28th. Yeah.
In calendar.
To
Libras.
29. Now, do you care about birthdays anymore?
No, I mean, it's just a different day I can get drunk. It's not like I need much of an excuse, but.
Yes!
Do you
that's why you're on the show.
Do you
just
feel,
so you know.
We're already in our 50s, so we passed that 50th thing.
Yeah.
Do you feel that looming 30, like as kind of a, oh, God, I'm almost 30? Type thing?
Not really. Like, I think it carries a different connotation for men than women. Like, when I talk to certain people, like, I think that age is much more daunting on that side of things. But I don't know, for me, like, I kind of round up to begin with now. Like, how is 29 all that different from 30? Like, the 3 in the first column is that much different? Not really.
It's very different for the parents of the 30-year-old kid because that makes us older.
You realize, I went through this thing once earlier where I think you can go through your life and really think you haven't aged or anything.
Right.
Unless you have kids.
Exactly right.
Because when you have kids, you see them go through the things that you remember and you're like, holy
God, I'm old.
Crap, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. It's exactly right. So your birthday is really going to have a worse effect on me.
Well, I think it's really going to have a worse effect on Mom because it's just going to reignite the chorus of why aren't you married and why aren't you even giving me grandkids yet?
That's true. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Did you ever have, Mike, like a birthday you're like, wow, this is weird. Like I'm getting to an age where I wasn't expecting ever to be there.
No, not 55. I'm already there.
No, that's me. I'm 50.
Probably when I turned 30 and I was still playing. I was playing in Philadelphia, and a gift I got was a thong. That was probably a moment.
It all goes back to thongs and butts for you.
You know what I got? I got a thong and I got a tub of pudding.
Oh, please don't put those together.
I was going to say, that's a really bad combo.
And let's just say later that night, I used them both.
Oh.
All right.
Mom was out of town, wasn't she?
Yeah. You know what was a weird one for me was 36.
36?
Because I did the math. I was closer to the 4 than the 3, and that kind of freaked me out.
Oh. So you did. That was your freaky moment?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sammy Hagar.
Yes, okay. We're 55.
Yeah.
Trey and I are 55 years old, okay, people?
Yeah.
Trey, where are the donuts?
Yeah, that's the real... I didn't
want
to
birthday.
Come
it's
out.
not his job to bring in donuts.
Sure it is. It's a rule on this show. It's your birthday, you bring the donuts.
Allie brought him in on her birthday.
Not going to lie, I didn't know that rule.
If you like didn't know the donut rule, you can't get on me for not bringing in the donut.
I can, and
the walking donut did not know the donut rule.
I am not getting on you for that. I did not know that rule.
I
would have thought somebody would have brought them in for you. Had I known it was your birthday before I got here, I would have stopped and got you donuts.
No, that's fine.
But happy birthday.
I can say that we're split on this. We've really undermined our cause like someone else who might be coming up later in the show.
Foreshadow.
So you can travel back in
time. Wait a minute, at this point, I wish I could.
Well, I know. How about it?
Honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay, can we move on
Yeah,
now?
we can.
Okay. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And we've got a lot of guests coming up today, including several on what was a hot-button topic that we still have some questions about, what Eric Dickerson is trying to do, and more importantly, who he's trying to do it for in reality. We'll get to all of that, but first let's start with what's trending, and the Yankees got maybe a jolt they needed through the long, soggy night when this happened in the Bronx.
That one's drilled deep to right. There it goes. See ya. A 3-run home run for Walker, and the Yankees take the lead.
That the call on Michael Kay of the Yes Network, as Neil Walker got a 3-run homer, but more importantly, or maybe for the long term, the Yankees got Aaron Judge back, and he went 0 for 4, but the Yankees got the win, which is interesting because whenever he's in the lineup, they tend to win a lot more.
Yeah, they do. Listen, they're not catching Boston, obviously. That's still
no. This is the beginning of the comeback, Mike.
But you know what? It's all about it, and we'll hear that from Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, as well. It's not where you start; it's where you finish. And how are you playing when you get to the postseason? And getting Judge back, Mike. I heard you talk about it. He's been a clutch hitter for them. I agree. They have a 2.5-game lead on Oakland. The only question is where that wild card game is going to be played. I know it was 0 for 4, and I know we're going to talk about, you can hit the button, Trey, exit velocity, which was like 12 miles an hour. But with a wrist injury, and
one of the best outs ever.
With a wrist injury and swinging a bat, that is kind of important to see how he's swinging it.
I think the relevant part of that has always been what you do with that number. And when we talk about grounders hit through there where it's coming off faster, more difficult to field, or in this case, an indication that the power is still there, because I think it came off his bat and went opposite field and almost went
the line
over
out,
the
right?
yard.
Yeah,
the line out almost made it to the warning track where he got sniped. But an indication that the Yankees fans, I think, needed, and maybe Aaron Judge needed. I mean, it's been a while since he swung a bat in this setting on a major league stage. So to get out there and get that feeling back,
he had a line out, he had a fly out, he grounded into a double play, and he had, I think, like a check swing for a strikeout.
Every kind of out you can imagine.
He made them all, but the exit velocity.
That was one of the greatest outs in the history of baseball. That's all I know, because it had second spectrum status. But we're making fun of it, but to your point, that it is kind of important with his injury. This is what Aaron Boone, the manager, had to say about it afterwards.
Yeah, really good. Obviously, smokes that ball his first time up to right. We looked up 112 the other way. That's pretty good. He looked like he hadn't missed a beat.
Yeah, if it were anything other than a guy coming back from a wrist injury, we would literally be mocking it even more.
We would, but the fact, it's actually relevant.
It is.
Yeah,
Darn it. We just like playing the sounder.
We do.
We're being like, seriously? Click it away.
It's his birthday. You can't do that.
No, you can't. All right, we're moving on. All right, so a good night for the Yankees, even though Aaron Judge didn't get a hit. They got the win. Also getting the win were the L.A. Dodgers.
2-2 from Ottavino is a slider. Hit in the air, left field. Going back. Looking up is Parra. It is gone, and the Dodgers have won.
There's the magic. Once again, Chris Taylor, not as big this year as he was last year, but in the postseason had some big hits. And the Dodgers are tuning up for another magical run.
That the call on ESPN Radio with Roxy Bernstein and Chris Singleton as Chris Taylor hit that 2-strike solo shot to left in the 10th, giving the Dodgers the 3-2 win over the Rockies that extended their NL West lead to a game and a half. These two will meet tonight for the last time this season at 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN.
So now Colorado, game and a half, as you mentioned, back from them for the division. Game and a half back from the Cardinals in the wild card as well. As Trey mentioned, they meet one more time, these two. And that's when Dave Roberts, the manager, saying we're playing some of our best ball right now. And I mean, that's huge in a long season. If you're going to obviously pick apart when you're looking toward the playoffs to when you're playing your best ball, it couldn't have fallen better, according to Dave, as to when they're starting to play well right now, getting ready for the postseason.
I think the best news for the Rockies, though, on their end is Trevor Story, that elbow injury that we talked about the other day, not as severe as initially thought, just some inflammation, should just be a couple of day thing as opposed to anything more structural and serious. So I think the best news for them coming out of this stretch.
Yeah, and to your point, Mike, about Dave Roberts, he said, we've been sort of inconsistent all year long, but things are coming together at the right time. And it is weird to think how this season started for them. They came out of the gate strong, then they couldn't go anywhere, and now here they are. Push comes to shove. They were a Game 7 at home away from winning the World Series a year ago, and now it looks like they're in a decent position to get back and try and go back jack and do it again. Meanwhile, the Sixers have finally agreed it's important to have a general manager. But who they hired, Mike, speaking of how we started the show, how old do you feel? The general manager, the new general manager for the 76ers, is Elton Brand.
Elton Brand, the top pick of the draft back in 1999, played for the Bulls, the Clippers, the 76ers, Dallas, Atlanta, and then the 76ers again in 2016. He had been the GM of the G League, their team in Delaware.
Right.
He got promoted to executive VP of basketball operations. Now he's a GM. I mean, a meteoric rise. They love what this guy does behind the scenes. I remember when he came out in 99, out of Duke and the player that he was and the potential that was there. He started getting that injury bug going around, certainly made himself a lot of coin through his career. But then people, you started looking at his knowledge of the game and what he was doing behind the scenes, leading to eventually this. I think people saw this possibly down the road, but maybe not as fast as it's happening, because it is happening at a lightning speed right now.
Yeah, it's accelerated, but it's at least something we can understand. And after the Clippers front office hire of Lee Jenkins the other day that was a little more non-traditional and had an interesting title, this, while ahead of schedule, at least feels like something that's a little more normal relative to what we're used to around NBA circles in a franchise that, quite frankly, youth has been the story in Philadelphia for the longest time now. That's what the groundswell of success and support has been about for this team, so it really fits right in with the culture.
Well, again, they toyed with the idea of not having a general manager for a while, which would have been, an interesting process to undertake. But again, they won 52 games last year. They finally got everybody healthy, and they finally have a general manager who I still think of as a player.
I know, that's so true. And just in case anybody kind of forgot the how this has worked, Brian Colangelo was a GM.
Right.
His wife had a burner account that he said he didn't know about. That led to all this public outing of it, and he ends up gone from there. Brett Brown, the coach, had been taking over GM duties, to your point of they weren't sure what they were going to do there, but now they elevate Elton Brand to that position.
So, again, they're on brand in Philadelphia.
Wow, well done.
No,
well done.
I should not have done that.
I just can't believe they didn't hire Jay Wright.
Thank you. Cliff would have something to do with that, absolutely. By the way, Cliff's sweatshirt today is fantastic. We'll get into that a little bit later. And then there's this. New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady felt trapped this past offseason and wasn't sure he wanted to play anymore for the only NFL coach he's ever had, Bill Belichick, according to a new book on Belichick's life from Ian O'Connor. By the way, Ian O'Connor, one of our staff writers here at ESPN, our senior writer for ESPN.com, is going to join us tomorrow to talk more about this book. He interviewed 350 people about Bill Belichick's life. And this was him on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt last night, talking about what we all finally acknowledged, including the Patriots, who denied it at first, but they came out during the Super Bowl week, and owner Robert Kraft said it was a very difficult season for us, about the tensions that surfaced last season between Belichick and Tom Brady.
It's remarkable it took 17, 18 years for any fracture to come into public view. Right. It's a testament to them, really, that it didn't happen for so long. But once Belichick drafted Garoppolo in 2014 and said that night, he cited Tom's age and contract status and said, I'd rather be early than late at this position. It made it inevitable, and it happened last year. Our very own Seth Wickersham did a masterful job portraying the escalating tension between those two. It came down to Garoppolo's presence and also 17, 18 years of being coached in an unforgiving way by Belichick wore Brady down. And then, of course, the way Belichick marginalized Alex Guerrero, his business partner and life coach, and it all sort of came together to represent a last straw. I was told by a number of sources that as late March, Brady wasn't sure he was going to play again for Belichick.
But the only options there were either quit or demand
Well,
a
that's
trade.
exactly right.
So.
That's why I'm not really sure how far that seriously was going to go. There weren't a lot of options right there. And at the end of the day, they're both professionals. And while I agree, playing under that system, which can be a hard system for that long and to take this long to at least to publicly see things start to come out, I think is pretty interesting as well. And I think a testament to both those guys. But to me, I never thought there was any kind of thought about him not going back, A, because what were the options for him, and B, he's a professional, so is Belichick, and once they all got in the building, they understand what they're playing for.
It's just kind of interesting how far this sentiment seeped out, right? Like, I thought it was interesting in the article on .com, they referenced a quote that Tom Brady's sister Nancy supposedly told people that she believed, quote, Belichick will definitely do to him someday what the Colts did to Peyton Manning. Like, this was how far that family had thought about it, potentially.
But that's literally everybody in the NFL outside of John Elway.
Well, and plus, I mean, with Peyton, you had surgeries that went along with that for a reason of, I mean, there was a little more to that. But you're talking about the whole kind of the business decision thing.
I think it's just that idea that you don't get to dictate the terms of your departure. Well, I mean, but when you think of these all-time greats in this spot, I think a lot of people always thought with Tom Brady, with Eli Manning's playing streak that came into question last year, that some of these guys are above that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think your larger point about how the Patriots handle this, I think there's some interesting parallels between that and what the Steelers are dealing with right now.
Yeah, well, I would. Yeah, the way both are handling it and dealing with it,
the way both traditionally can handle these different versions of themselves.
And one of the big differences, I think, in talking about, when Tom got there, Tom wasn't brought in as the heir apparent to Drew Bledsoe.
No,
Tom was a 6th-round draft choice who you kind of got and said, okay, we'll see what we can do. Garoppolo was brought in with the eye of just what was said there of Belichick saying, I'd rather get ahead of it,
right?
And let's see what goes. Maybe this guy might be the heir apparent. So really 2 different situations.
Exactly. And I brought up Elway. Even Elway really didn't get to choose. I mean, you can talk to people that played with the Broncos in the late 90s when that was going on. Mike Shanahan was very comfortable moving ahead with Bubby Brister, and he wanted to get ahead of it too and going forward. So if in a candid moment, Elway and other people will tell you he felt like he didn't have a choice. And he said, you should probably retire.
Yeah, choice can be a bit of an illusion at times, right? Like, that's one of the biggest misconceptions about what went on with Colin Kaepernick. People saying he had a contract with San Francisco. He could have stayed there, but by all accounts, it was made very clear to him that he wasn't going to be the guy there going forward, right? When this new regime came in and took over, that was sort of the unwritten understanding, and that in a lot of people's minds is why he chose to depart. So in a lot of these situations where it can appear on the outside like someone is making a choice, behind the scenes we know, and this goes to college football, this goes to the NFL, this goes really across sport, is internally there's a lot of things that we don't see in that regard.
And then being told you can go out your way, but understand you should probably go out, we're going to let you make it look like it's your way, but if you don't, it's going to be a different way.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And your best options are going to be elsewhere.
Well, I'm curious now, does Tom speak on Wednesdays or Thursdays? I think it's on Wednesdays, right? I'm curious to say what because he's going to be asked about this. At his weekly
Tom's going to give his Tom answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect anything different.
So is this him hanging up early on WEEI again?
Yeah. How about that?
I'm out. I'm out, he said. But again, if this was such a big deal this offseason and they don't win the Super Bowl this year, I'm curious how it's going to play out in the next offseason.
It's going to end at some point. The man is 41 years old. Yeah. I mean, we're not hanging on forever. As I said, I give it this year and next year, and already people are bailing on the Patriots this year after that one loss, and they were certainly beat.
Careful on that.
By Jacksonville, without question. You start looking at top 3s and top 5 in power rankings, see if you see New England everywhere. Everybody's kind of bailing right now, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Big day, by the way. Big day. Trey, power ranking day for you, right?
I've got him.
Oh, boy.
Trey's top 5, hot off the press.
And again, I do mine differently. I don't project.
Right.
It's about what you've done so far.
Right?
That's it.
Winners.
To that point. I want winners.
I want winners. I want people that want to win.
I was breaking news with saying people that I want winners. That's basically what I was going there. By the way, for the book, real quickly, O'Connor interviewed over 350 people. Belichick obviously did not cooperate.
No, he did not.
The book due out September 25th. and it's going to be very interesting. And he'll join us tomorrow morning, 7:30 Eastern, to talk more about the book. So we'll look forward to that with Ian O'Connor. Clearly, the Belichick-Brady relationship in the book is what everybody's talking about. Brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. And again, Golic and Wingo, happily presented by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at progressive.com. Coming up, we'll have more on Cliff's sweatshirt, which is really the interesting thing. Plus, all is not quiet on the Western Front in the state of Pennsylvania.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store at jcp.com for coupon and details.
Love scoring amazing hotel deals? Then you've got to use Hotel Tonight. Forget scrolling through never-ending lists of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book these sweet deals in advance for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. Want to get those deals? Yeah, you do. Something better just came along. Hotel Tonight.
Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN2 on a Wednesday morning. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. So there's been a lot of headlines coming out of Western Pennsylvania and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not a lot of them good. They've started the season 0-1-1. They tied the Browns. And then, of course, just saw Patrick Mahomes tear them apart in their home opener on Sunday. And there has been a lot of friction. There's the incident on the sidelines, Antonio Brown going at the offensive coordinator, obviously upset with him not getting the ball, which, by the way, I don't care much about.
I don't care
that
at all.
That doesn't bother me at all.
Not one bit.
Tom Brady does that every game.
It happens everywhere all the time. He's just going to get on camera, get caught on camera all the time.
Exactly.
That means nothing to me.
So let's get the straight talk on what's really going on here, because that's not part of it. But it is time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So after that sideline incident on Sunday, Antonio Brown did not show up to practice or at the facility on Monday, and Mike Tomlin was asked about that.
Was he here yesterday? He was not. No, I'm looking forward to visiting with him today and discussing that and some other things. I'm not going to get into the details of why he wasn't here or whether he was excused and all of those things. I just assume leave those things in-house. I understand sometimes you got some negativity. You know, we lost a football game. There were some negative exchanges on the sideline. There's frustration associated with not playing well and not winning. I understand all that. There's opportunities for us to respond to it, particularly the early portions of the year, to utilize negative experiences and things that occur to educate our team at this point in the journey so that it becomes a non-factor as we move forward. That's generally the approach that we take in non-football related things, such as social media, decorum, and et cetera. So hopefully that'll be the last time I'll be discussing things such as that in this setting.
Doubt it. That was Mike Tomlin.
You know, first and foremost, social media decorum. Anytime an older person is telling a younger person about social media decorum, it usually ends with Herm.
Yes.
Don't press send.
I mean
that's
right
it. Because
don't press send.
What are we going to say to your generation, Mike, about social media? I mean, we all say, hey, just don't hit send. And I think in a lot of cases we may be right, but guys are going to use social media. Mike Tomlin is not going to stop Antonio Brown from using social media. Now, there are ways you can use it in a smarter way, and he was going, this was more of that's the thing. A personal thing against somebody else becomes public to everybody. This was a personal thing about a guy in the PR staff, correct? Was it in the PR staff?
Former member of the PR staff.
Who tweeted something about Antonio Brown, which became public. And then he responds, which becomes public. So it's a personal one-on-one thing that becomes public. And if you're 2-0, not a whole lot gets made of it. When you're 0-1-1, it gets magnified to what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, there are all those levels to it, right? Certainly, as Tomlin said, it's a response to losing. That's something that the Pittsburgh Steelers and most teams don't respond well to, but it's also the content of it, right? Lots of players respond to criticism online. Responding by saying, trade me, and then also not being in the building the next day kind of compounds it in a way that's unique to this situation. So you could say don't press send, but really if you're going to press send, just don't do it in a way that invites actual football-related controversy.
You see, you're exactly right. If you take the sideline incident alone, no big deal. You take him responding to a criticism of somebody saying that Ben Roethlisberger made Antonio Brown, no big deal, really. But when you add that all together within a 2 or 3 day span, included which a day in which he did not show up at the facility, then it creates this fire where there maybe is or isn't something there, because now you're seeing a progression of events, right?
And people may be asking, well, that was Monday, today's Wednesday, what about Tuesday? Tuesday's a player's day off, so he didn't have to be at the facility. And for those that care about what an agent has to say, Antonio Brown's agent is Drew Rosenhaus, and he said the tweet was not in reference to anything other than Antonio responding to a person he knows. It was not directed toward a trade or wanting to be traded. It was a personal response to a former Steeler employee who insulted him. Any idea he was asking for a trade is not accurate, blah, 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 blah. So that's going and we'll see. Said it was a personal issue. That's what Mike Tomlin said as well. Game plan day to day. I would highly expect him to I would expect him to be there today, right? I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a pretty easy one to resolve. And that kind of leads to the larger point in all this, right? Is we just talked about the Patriots and Ian O'Connor's book and a lot made about the Patriots offseason and the way they always batten down the hatches. This Steelers team in a very different way is the same model. Like the Steelers team has been overwhelmingly who they are, has had outspoken players in this locker room, has had instances whether it involved James Harrison's departure from the other year, whether it involved the Facebook Live situation coming out of the locker room the other year.
10,000 views.
10,000 views. All these things that have come up, all these things that we've made a big deal out of, the Steelers talking openly about facing the Patriots. What effect has it had?
Yeah.
They've been a playoff team deep in the playoffs the last 4 years, a double-digit win team the last 4 years. This team knows how to absorb this. This is who they are. And if the biggest blight on their resume is they can't beat the Patriots in the big game,
well, last year they couldn't beat the Jaguars at a home game in the divisional round.
Who just beat the Patriots, transitive property. But you can obviously being facetious, but you get in general the Patriots have been this iteration of the Steelers hang-up. So if we really exclude that, which is understandable, the rest of this stuff, the Steelers have shown us time and time again they can handle.
It is, but again, I'd go back to the Steelers-Patriots game last year where the Steelers did everything except win the game. I mean, they did everything right except win the game, and it came down to critical plays in the last few seconds where you saw how the Patriots handled things as opposed to how the Steelers handled things at times. And now you get into, well, what is Antonio Brown really? Well, Ryan Clark, who does a great job with us now and obviously was a Steeler for a long time, had this to say about Antonio Brown.
Listen, the team is in a bad place. When your best football player is more focused on individual things, individual feelings and sensitivities than what's going on with the team that's really a sinking ship right now, it's a problem. I know Scrap very well. He worked for the Pittsburgh Steelers when I was there, and to think that he said something like that that touched Antonio in that way, it's kind of ridiculous to me. But here was what Antonio has to do. He has to focus on playing football. He's the best player on this team. He's the best player in that locker room. It needs to be more of a team mindset around there. But everything from Le'Veon Bell not coming in to the offensive line firing shots at him to now Antonio Brown being more concerned about what a former PR employee is saying about him rather than focusing on what he needs to do to win games this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a problem.
Well, that's the bigger issue, right? Because they couldn't beat the Browns. They had to scramble back to make it a game after falling behind 21-0 to the Chiefs. And now they may play arguably the hottest team in football, the Tampa Bay Bucs, at home on Monday night. So all this is fine, but it's getting late early for Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say is with Antonio Brown, is this anything new to us? Is this anything that is surprising to us at this point with him in social media? I mean, this is the second time in 2 weeks. Didn't he apologize to one of our senior writers they wrote an article about he's an Instagram all-pro and basically Antonio Brown threatened him and then went and apologized for it? I'm numb to Antonio Brown on social media. I really am. He is a great player on the field. I don't think he's very well liked in that locker room, but as I said, You don't have to be well-liked in a locker room. But the one thing is, he's in the locker room. Unlike Le'Veon Bell, who's not in the locker room they're producing, he produces on the field, may not be singing Kumbaya with everybody, and he is going to press send. That is Antonio Brown. By the way, he's the best player on their team.
Yeah. And he's the focal point of their offense, still leading the league in targets right now through 2 weeks of the season. So their intention has not changed.
No, it hasn't. And our own Jeremy Fowler, who does a great job covering the Steelers, likened him to Manny Ramirez, and Manny being Manny. On some level, that's true, except I think Antonio has a better working grasp of the actual sport than sometimes Manny ever did. That's slightly different. But all this is, look, if they lose Monday night, it's only going to get worse. So winning is the ultimate deodorant, and right now the Steelers are in dire need of deodorant.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then, once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
The guys deserve this. I mean, we play the most dangerous sport it is in sports.
Basically, they're saying, we have built this game. We have sacrificed our bodies.
They're specifically saying that the Hall of Famers get health insurance for life and an annual salary because of what they've given to the game. There are more of me than you. And I'm not saying me specifically, give me this.
A guy who played multiple years in the league.
My 9 years and 12 surgeries mean something.
Mark Schlereth's 29 surgeries in 12 years means something.
We're not in the Hall of Fame and we won't be. And there's a lot of guys like us.
I really don't think about enough is being made about the guys who got cut in 3 training camps and never made an active roster. I think we really got to think about those guys.
You were mentioned in that letter, huh?
No. Felt really wrong. SportsCenter brought to you by Shell. If your favorite sport is saving on gas, you have 2 new Shell and Fuel Rewards credit cards to play with. You save 10 cents per gallon every time you fill up with either. Visit shell.us/getrewards to learn more and apply today. At participating Shell stations only, terms and conditions apply.
All right, Golic and Wingo here with you, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We got wind of this story yesterday in the latter half of the show, Mike, when we learned that there was a letter sent out by Eric Dickerson, signed by, or supposedly signed by a lot of Hall of Famers, saying, look, they were going to boycott future Hall of Fame induction ceremonies if they weren't taken care of. And the letter specifically said, and this is why we need to be clear, the letter that was obtained by ESPN specifically said, we want health insurance and a salary based on revenue for Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
For Hall of Famers. And look, you as a former player, me as a guy who's covered the league for 20-plus years now, I could not be more all in on former players getting better health insurance and being more well-respected.
Yeah, not the first time this was brought up.
Not even close. But again, the letter that came out specifically said, we want this for Hall of Famers. Now then, Eric Dickerson, who's sort of the spearhead of all this, who will be joining us later on today, by the way, went on Outside the Lines with Bob Lee and had this to say.
The guys deserve this. I mean, we play the most dangerous sport it is in sports. I mean, it's way overdue. When you go to the Hall of Fame and you see the guys that can't hardly get around and they have no health care. A lot of them have Medicare and Medicaid. That's fine. But it's no health care, and it should be health care. I mean, Major League Baseball has it. They have a great pension plan, but we don't. Major League Baseball, if you play one day in Major League Baseball, you have health care for the rest of your life. If you play 43 days, and you don't have to play on the roster 43 days, you get $34,000 for the rest of your life. 10 years, you get $200,000 for the rest of your life. NFL is not even close to that.
Okay, so then he went one step further.
I don't want to ever disrespect the guys that are going into the Hall, because I love the Hall of Fame. When I went to the Hall of Fame, I said I will never do anything to hurt the Hall. I'm not trying to hurt the Hall. I'm trying to help the Hall of Famers. That is my goal. That is, I'm not saying my goal. That is our goal, because we talked to the guys who talked about this. This is our goal, is to help the players, and also not just the Hall of Famers. I want to make that perfectly clear. One thing is we have to have a seat at the CBA table. We want all players to have health insurance, not just Hall of Famers.
Do you think they're going to give?
Okay, well, and that's the critical thing here, because let me just set this up, okay? Because basically the letter never says anything about all players. The letter never says anything. And then a clarification, Eric Dickerson told ESPN, you have to start with the Hall of Famers because we're trying to get some power first. We don't have a voice at the table. We're trying to get there with the attention of the Hall of Famers. When you get the Hall of Famers talking, hopefully you get the attention of the masses. And my point is, the Hall of Famers are talking about this. You have the attention. Just say it's for all players. You never said that.
The message he's trying to send overall, we have been talking about forever. More health care, longer years when you're done playing. As far as the salary, forget that. It sounds ridiculous to say, give us a salary. You want to talk about revenue sharing for something, okay. But a salary sounds ridiculous. So let's move past that. Here's the problem with the message Eric Dickerson is sending. You want it to be clear and concise so you can follow it. I want to do something for the Hall of Famers. Let me be clear about that, but we want to help all players. Well, what the hell is it? And now you've said as well, we will boycott next year's ceremony. And two of the names in there were Jerry Rice and Kurt Warner, who have both come out and said, wait a minute, we're not part of this. We're not part of this thing. And Eric Dickerson has come out and said, my mistake for miscommunicating, they were part of this. But those two Hall of Famers said, there is no way we're boycotting the Hall of Fame ceremony. So Eric, and we're going to talk to him, but I'll say it right now, and I'll say it to him, you're losing the message. You're losing what you're trying to accomplish by saying Hall of Famers. Let me be clear, but I mean all players. And then we're going to skip this ceremony. Well, you got Hall of Famers coming out and say, hell no, we're not skipping this ceremony. So you're losing the whole message in this thing rather than saying we are Hall of Famers. We have a strong voice. We are now going to fight for every retired player. We want a seat to do it. Strong, concise, to the point, all inclusive. Now you have a clear message going forward. Right now his message is clouded.
Well, I think all of that is a kind of over a big way of saying unified, right? And that's the same trouble that the Players Association faces every time they go and do battle with the owners and the league when it comes to the collective bargaining negotiations. And so you've got now a same thing, a difficulty in representing a large group of players when you're not exactly consistent on the message you're speaking. Because I thought this would have been interesting had this been a more pointed attack, had this been exactly what you just described. We want this for all players. We wield a pretty powerful stick as Hall of Famers. We saw last year when Terrell Owens opted not to go, the shockwaves that sent through a lot of people. We may see value in this area if we can be together on it. I wonder if this could have put owners in an uncomfortable situation, because we saw with the protests how willing it made the owners to sit down at the table with players. If this comes from outside of the PA,
yes, I mean they made a policy without the players, and then they realized that was
they did, but still, them getting a seat at the table with the owners, I don't take for granted.
No,
I think
fair.
that's a big deal. So could this have pushed them more in that direction? Because this actually had helped the current Players Association, because this all comes down to healthcare, post-career, all that stuff, bargaining chip. Yeah. Bargaining chip for the next CBA, just like it was in the last CBA.
And understand that we as former players, we're not part of the union.
No.
So that's why this letter went to DeMaurice Smith as well. We're separate from the union. So we have that's another people at the table that we deal with. We're not at that table with them. Yeah. We're at that table, hopefully, as part of the whole thing. The thing I disagree with Eric is that we have to start with the Hall of Famers first.
No, that's terrible.
And I'll tell him that when he comes on. Why? Why can't you just be all-inclusive right out of the gate? Yeah. The message, unfortunately, has been clouded.
That's the issue here. When he says we have the attention of, yes, you do, and so you should fight for everybody, not just yourself. Let's not play trickle-down economics here. If you're going to go down that road, you go down for everybody. You don't just do it for Hall of Famers. And again, we hope to get more clarity when he joins us later on. Coming up, an NBA Jam reference from an NFL player, plus the judge is back, and more on Cliff's amazing sweatshirt.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
You know what's driving me nuts?
That I'm the better looking one?
No. Waiting to check out at the grocery store. When I'm hungry, my instincts kick in and I just want to smash through the line.
Well, you should make things safer for all of us and try almonds. They have 4 grams of hunger-slaying fiber, which can be game-changing, even for a man of your stature.
Not a bad idea. But what if I'm in line waiting to buy almonds?
Stick to the self-checkout and remember to breathe.
California almonds. Own your everyday. Every day.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Glad you're with us.
You
Go
moved on
Wingo,
already,
ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Hey, listen. At my age, the memory goes like that, so you move on.
Very quickly. I forgot last segment.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo on, what are we on? ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. We are getting set, by the way, for our fall football tour to continue a little bit later on. We'll be headed down to Philadelphia this week.
Chicken Pete's.
And by the way, let me just say again, City of Philadelphia, on behalf of ESPN, you're welcome. Because when we did the draft there, I believe that was the mojo that got everything started for the Eagles' magical run. Mm-hmm. And then we come back, and what happens? Carson Wentz goes back into the starting line.
There we go.
Coincidence? I don't think so.
I think not. So Chicky and Pete's for some great crab fries, and you know where you and I will be, Mike.
City of Philadelphia, you are welcome to join the Golics at the Reading Terminal Market, where we will be absolutely mainlining Amish donuts. I bought 5 pounds of bacon the last time I was there.
It is just a treat.
All right, now I have questions.
Yeah.
What is the name of this place?
The Reading Terminal Market. So it's an old train station that they hollowed out.
Terminal would be in there,
yeah. And they turned it into a big marketplace.
Very
so there's a bunch of different food vendors in there, from real, grocery store type places to sandwich shops. Tommy DeNick's great beef sandwich place in there. You do have a bunch of Amish donut stands and meat shops. It's everything you could want in one place.
Go to the dictionary, look up the word heaven, and there's a picture of that place.
So Amish donuts, you said?
Amish donuts.
Really good. And you bought 5 pounds of bacon?
5 pounds.
Did you brought it back with you, I'm assuming?
Brought it back across
all
state
different
lines.
types of flavors and such out across state lines. Well, you have to declare
smuggling contraband.
Anything to declare as you enter New Jersey? Definitely not bacon. Definitively not bacon.
Maple glazed bacon.
By the way, of course, Cliff is from Philadelphia, and Cliff is wearing the greatest sweatshirt of all time. It's a Muhammad Ali sweatshirt that says "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." Can't get much better.
It's
than
very
that.
cool. I do like
very,
it.
very. Stand up, Cliff, so the television audience
stand
can
up,
see
be
it.
recognized.
Look at that. Mm-hmm. That is fantastic.
Yeah,
well done.
Really cool.
Cooking the music with us all day.
I enjoyed us teasing Cliff's fashion an hour into the show.
Yeah. And his fashion is a sweatshirt.
Yeah, and by the way, really, it was like 3 seconds into the show.
Yeah,
this is sort of the way we get derailed every once in a while, and we're okay with that. So we got a lot to get to. We got a couple of great guests coming up a little bit, but let's start, as we always do, with what's trending. And the Yankees needed a jolt to get through the long, soggy day, and Aaron Judge provided that with his return to the lineup, but more importantly, Neil Walker provided a little more than just returning to the lineup.
That one's drilled deep to right. There it goes. See ya. A 3-run home run for Walker, and the Yankees take the lead.
That, of course, the call of Michael Kay on the Yes Network, as Neil Walker's 3-run homer gave them the win over the Red Sox, 3-2.
Yeah, and for Judge coming back, he missed 49 games, I believe it was, and he had a line out, a fly out, a grounded into a double play, and a check swing strikeout. So, but we sit there and we have our fun with second
spectrum.
Thank you very much. Those stats: 112 mile an hour exit velocity on his first at bat. But this one actually makes sense. A guy with a wrist injury was supposed to be out 3 weeks and not swing, and he ended up missing 5 years. We were all like, wow, where is he? And he comes back in his first at-bat. He does knock one off the bat pretty fast, so that has to be a positive sign. Even though he went 0 for 4 in the game, that's a positive sign.
Yeah, look, it popped off the bat, and you thought for a second, man, is he going to go yard right away?
What a story.
And really re-announce his presence, which would have been gold for us. But the story coming out of this healthy. Down the stretch for them, a guy who I think was a catalyst for them in a lot of clutch situations, especially early on this season, for a lineup that even with the reigning NL MVP has struggled in his absence. I think it's going to be a welcome shot of life.
Well, look, here's the thing. He went 0 for 4, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is that he's there. Yeah. Say what you want about everybody else in that lineup. He is literally everything. The Yankees are 65-33 when Judge starts, 27-25 when he doesn't. I mean, so they're 32 games over 500 when he plays, 2 games over 500 when he doesn't.
And it's great he's playing now. As I said, you got a couple of handfuls of game left before you get to that all-important one-game play-in, or I know it's a postseason, but you know what I mean. It's one game to keep going.
They're the first 2.
To be able to get him
the
some at-bats and some warming up, before we get to that game against the A's, wherever it's going to be. And right now, obviously, the Yankees hold that lead by 2.5 games. So right now, the game's in New York.
Getting all of his outs out of the way now.
There you go.
He got every version of an out he could get in this game, and now he moves on.
Including arguably the greatest out we've ever seen.
Greatest.
In his first at bat. That was, and when you talk about outs in the history of the game, that out's going to be
Did you see how hard he hit it?
Did you see how great that out was? Well, I'll play it all you want. We got you, big boy.
Give up that
shirt. There you go. Meanwhile, speaking of outs, it's going to be tough to take Ryan Fitzpatrick out of the lineup. Wideout Deshaun Jackson, who never really connected last season on the big play with Jameis Winston, says the Bucs should stick with Ryan Fitzpatrick after Jameis Winston is scheduled to return from his 3-game suspension, which, by the way, ends after the Monday night game the Bucs have at home against the Steelers. Here was Deshaun Jackson talking about that with Kevin DeGandhi on SportsCenter yesterday.
He's playing on fire right now, and the way the team is rallying behind him and just playing, lights out football. You have to kind of honor it. You know what I'm saying? You can't take the hot man out. He got the hot fire right now. It's like NBA Jam. We used to play NBA Jam. We was young. Whoever got that hot fire shot, you got to keep shooting, man. So, it's not my decision, but I'm sure they'll, Dirk and Coach Monken, them guys that makes them call, I'm sure they'll, let them stay on fire till, that fire's out.
By the way, kudos to Deshaun for referencing the old NBA Jam, one of the greatest video games
on fire
of all time. And so the question then becomes, should the Bucs make the switch?
So here's
Making
the deal.
The switch.
Okay,
Thank you. Is brought to you by Benzol Synthetics. I love you.
No,
taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Benzol Synthetics today. Mike, the floor is yours.
You played that perfectly. I got the error there. So let me just pull the devil's advocate side of this. There's no doubt I would keep Ryan Fitzpatrick in there. Okay, that's not the question. But the question is then, going forward, you're playing for this season. I get it. You got 52 other guys in that locker room. You want to stay with the hot hand. But from management side of this thing, they need to decide what's going on with Jameis Winston, right? So is Ryan Fitzpatrick the future of this team? He's 35 years old. And we've seen when you make him the future of something, it may not work out well, and it may. You just don't know. It's a crapshoot. But he's 35. He's not the long-term future of this team. So do you need to see more of Jameis Winston to decide if he's the future of this team, or have you seen enough of him to have already made that decision?
Yeah, I think that's going to have to weigh pretty prominently into this. The main reason I argued for keeping Fitzpatrick in is something we touched on yesterday, which is because of his known history. It's a lot easier to give him the hook if this bottoms out at all, because all it would take is once, and then you can give him the hook and go back to Jameis Winston.
Well, you're right. The other way around, it would be ugly. Wouldn't it put Jameis in and he struggled?
And then all of a sudden, I think you have to wait for Ryan Fitzpatrick to get this out of his system or ride it all the way if it goes that far.
Kind of like Nick Foles in Philly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if Ryan, by the way, I think Ryan has deserved more than a one-game pass at this point, too. Let's say he doesn't throw 4 touchdowns and 400 yards against the Steelers.
I agree with you because
although everybody has this season.
But I'm always going to think as a former player, and as a player in that locker room, I'm like, I remember when Randall was out for a bit and Jim McMahon came in and was doing well, and then Randall was going to come back. They were coming down to our end of the locker room on the defense and saying, who do you want in there? I said, I don't care. It's a guy who takes it down the field. Doesn't matter to me who's in there.
Right.
I'm a player in that locker room. I'm like, who's picking us down the field? That's who I want on the field right now. It's a management's job to think of the bigger picture and how they want to go about it.
Yeah, look, I would be shocked after, no matter what happens Monday night, if they automatically go back.
I would agree.
Because the post-game press conference with him wearing Deshaun, listen, that stuff is real. And now you're going to laugh and say it was just a stunt, but the fact that the team feels comfortable with him in that way, doesn't that speak volumes to you?
I thought it was a great thing. Listen, do you need complete team chemistry to be a championship team? I'm going to sit there and say no, but it doesn't hurt. It's nice when you have it. Let's say it is nice when you have it.
And it's definitely interesting considering the relationship between Dirk Cutter and Jameis Winston. A lot of the reason they moved on from Lovie Smith and kept him on was because they believed him and Jameis Winston had that rapport and they wanted to build around their young quarterback. How does that and Dirk Cutter's job in general factor into all this decision?
There's a lot of layers going on in what's happening in Tampa Bay, but right now just enjoy the ride because they are 2-0, and quite frankly, a home game against Pittsburgh at this point, you have to feel pretty good about your chances of going 3-0 the way the Bucs are rolling. Come on, Cleveland. Come on, Cleveland. Having lost the first 2 games, or not won the first 2 games, in epically tragic, weird, crazy ways, the Browns are going to have a new look when they take to the field for their second home game of the year, Thursday Night Football against the Jets.
I'll let you. I know, Mike, you're excited about this.
Man, it's big, guys. Color Rush is back, and the Browns are blessing us. The Doo-Doo Browns, a.k.a. the Gold Hammers, a.k.a. the first shot of Color Rush of the season, guys. What a time to be alive.
The All Browns.
Oh.
The All Browns, which, by the way, aren't new. Been around since, 2015?
Yeah, they've been around.
They've been around, but I am a huge fan of the Color Rush.
Did you see the hype video the other day? They're stitching them. They're getting them ready on the pads and everything, letting us know. Just a little wet in the whistle.
The only Color Rush I wouldn't like because, while I was back in my playing days about 300 pounds, but it wasn't always the best-looking 300 pounds, is all white.
Oh.
And I know as an O-lineman, you fat O-lineman didn't like all whites either.
Just imagine, if you will, a road Notre Dame team, let's say in West Lafayette and Purdue, a bunch of fat offensive linemen walking around literally in front of the mirrors trying to smooth out the front of jerseys, realizing, unfortunately, all in vain because you can't just steamroll all the fat out of our guts.
Yeah.
That was actually making the jerseys look bad.
White
is the bane of the existence. Got the pants, too. You sweat through those, then you're in trouble.
Or you pee your pants.
Yeah.
Now you got yellow on white. Not a good look.
Blatant pee pants.
Yeah. And don't think that doesn't happen more often than you know.
But Doo-Doo Brown, you can do a lot in those uniforms.
A lot of issues.
That's a clean slate of sorts.
Yeah.
Aaron Goldhammer could do no wrong in those Doo-Doo Brown uniforms.
Good for them. I'm glad they're doing it.
And look, not wishing against the Jets, but it's been 633 days since the Browns last tasted victory.
Can you imagine the lack of work that will go on in Cleveland on Friday?
Yeah.
Should they win and the dilly coolers get busted open?
Listen, I'm curious as to how many babies will be born 9
Oh,
months.
come on.
Yeah.
9 months after that.
Seriously?
Listen,
a couple little bakers.
That's what you're doing?
Yes, I'd like you to meet my baby Tarad.
Wow.
This is my baby Antonio.
It's pronounced Tyra.
This is my friend. This is my baby Miles.
Okay. I went where you're going to drink. Thank you, Cliff. Yeah. I'm actually wanting the clock right now.
Well, we want this clock for 2 very different reasons. Because
Yes.
Cleveland is excited about the prospect of a win. I'm excited about something entirely. So, Dad, you weren't here last week when we started this.
Yeah.
NFL Power Ranking Day happens on
not
Tuesday
here.
around here at the Worldwide Leader. And Trey comes in and he is agitated at the way that the list was put together. He disagrees with the construct of this list. And so Trey decides he's going to give us his own list. And last week came with that damn heat. The echoes of this reverberated through the rest of the afternoon.
You're your own list.
I do.
Okay.
Explain to him the list.
Let me explain a couple of things. First of all, I have great respect for the people at ESPN.com, all of them that do this, but it's a weekly power ranking,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
So they don't do it weekly. They project on what they think the team is or where they think the team is going to be. I cannot live in that world.
Okay.
As Bill Parcells once famously said, you are what your record says you are. That's it. So all I have to go by is what I've seen on the field for the first 2 weeks of the season.
So
that's it.
Should that then say there are 7 2-0 teams, that all 5 of your teams are 2-0?
You got that right.
Whoa. No spoilers.
Don't give
Can I ask this? And I'm sorry, this is my first time for this.
To be clear, Mike, you were right because
I want winners.
Okay.
I want people that want to win.
So before you give this week, can you tell me what last week was, just so I can see what the changes were?
Yeah, last week I think we had the Jets at 5.
Right below you.
Oh, it is? Okay, last week we had the Jets at 5, the Eagles at 4, the Ravens at 3, the Vikings at 2, and the Rams at 1.
Okay.
Golic, and just a hot rumor, because I have Trey's list.
Ooh.
A team on the list last week didn't lose this week, off the list.
What?
So a team was wait a minute, just so I understand. A team was on the list last week. They didn't lose,
and they're off.
And now they're out of the top 5.
Yep.
You got some explaining to do.
I thought we wanted winners.
I think
thought we wanted winners.
And they won, and you knocked them off the list.
We did not say that.
Start explaining.
Here we go. Let's start the list before we give any more away.
Yep.
I need this.
Let's do this.
Yeah, that was week 1.
All right, here we go. Week 2, number 5. your Cincinnati Bengals.
Ooh!
Because last week the Ravens were number 3. They beat the Ravens. They're undefeated. They've scored 34 points in the first 2 games and 4 of the last 5 or 3 of the last 4 to do that have made it to the Super Bowl. So I can only go by what we've seen so far. 2 weeks in, the Cincinnati Bengals look like a really good football team.
New team in your top 5.
New team in my top 5.
Okay.
Number 4.
Might want to lay out for that one next time.
We have people that do that for you, Trey. You're talented. You don't have to say number 4.
Save it for the takes on the list.
Yeah.
Ranger,
the numbers
for the ones that get it done. I am all in on the Connor Fitzpatricks, the Ryan Fitzmcgregors, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow.
Are at number 4.
Wow. A second new team?
Listen, you go 2 weeks and Ryan Fitzpatrick throws 404 touchdown passes, and the defense is all over the field. Mike Evans is making plays. Deshaun Jackson is back to his Philly days. 2 weeks in, you have to respect the Bucs. So they are at number 4.
I actually agree with that. Wholeheartedly agree with that. Yeah.
I hope everyone around here took their heart medication.
By the way, Jerry's shirtless behind me. I don't know what's happening.
But
His power rankings are taking
now,
over.
I don't think I have pants
Your
on.
first 2 picks are 2 new teams.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh, Jerry's actually kind of shirtless. It's getting wild.
Well, okay. All right, onward we go.
Number 3. And you could make the argument they could be higher.
But do you have them at 3?
I have them at 3. Duval County is lit, baby. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow.
A third new team?
It's another new team.
Yeah. We have more data now. You have to process the data. Jacksonville comes up with a way to beat the AFC champs in New England, and they do it in a way that they wouldn't do it in the AFC championship game. Instead of saying, don't lose the game, they told Bortles, go win us the game, and Bortles said, sir, yes, sir, and responded with an awesome second half, and they took down the defending AFC champs.
I honestly don't think I can argue with that one either.
You must respect what the Jags have done through the first 2 weeks of the season.
Mike?
I need a cigarette.
Yeah, can we do a quick breather?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
On your list right now.
Yeah.
It's a quarterback league, right?
Yeah.
We got Andy Dalton.
Yep.
We got Ryan Fitzpatrick, and we got Blake Bortles.
Wow.
Man, what a time.
Has anybody played better over the first 2 weeks than Ryan Fitzpatrick? Only
allowed.
one. Only one guy.
By your standards of how they're doing right now, I honestly have a tough time disagreeing with any of these.
Listen, I want winners. I want people that want to win.
Ironclad.
Maybe down the road when teams start to lose, we can look at this differently. But 2 weeks in, you got to be putting up dubs to be on the weekly top 5 list.
We're eating dubs.
It's week to week. Here we go. At number 2, another team that was not in the top 5 last week.
Wow.
What?
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Whoa. It's a full hockey line change.
Listen, the only quarterback playing better, in my opinion, than Ryan Fitzpatrick is Pat Mahomes. And we are all in on the Pat Mahomes experience.
Some of us.
He's getting there.
Some of us.
He's getting there.
You're shut out. You sit in your rowboat out there in the water.
I got my toes in the water, my butt in the sand. I'm still kind of waiting, but it's trending positively.
10 touchdown passes over the first 2 games. So let's be clear. When Peyton Manning rewrote the record book in 2013, the first 2 weeks, he had 9.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the pace that Patrick Mahomes is playing on.
Right.
That's one more.
Multi-dimensional offense. They got everything going. Andy Reid's team, since he got there in 2013, went into that game 1-4 all time, no matter where the game was played against the Steelers. And they said, put up 21 points, withstood a comeback, came back to win, and Mahomes was throwing laser shots.
Yeah, he was. I
all over the field.
Can't argue with that. I just go back to what was Kansas City last year after 5 weeks?
5-0.
That's right. Okay.
No, this is a week-to-week thing.
Okay.
You're right.
Week
You're
to
100%.
week. All right.
I do not project. I go by the data that I see in front of me.
We have 4, and all 4 are new teams.
That's the way things happen when you lose, you're out. You don't win, you're out. And at number 1, let's just say the Sharps in Vegas, and I agree. Your Los Angeles Rams are once again the number 1 team.
Kind of makes
Tell
sense.
me I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
Here's the best part about the Rams. On a Sunday when everybody was struggling with kickers, you know what the Rams said? We're so good we're not even going to try. Greg Zuerlein got injured. He may be out a few weeks. They brought in their punter. He made an extra point or a field goal. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was a short field goal. And then they just went for 2 because they could. Because they had Todd Gurley. Because they have Jared Goff. Because they have Cooper Kupp. And oh, by the way, Bagel donut, shutout, nada, zip, zilch on the defensive side. Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, all the cornerbacks. Sam Shields. We don't even think about Sam Shields when they have Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. The Rams are by far, through 2 weeks, the best team in football.
I can't argue that. And I understand from your week 1, from number 2 on, Minnesota, they tied. Baltimore lost. The Eagles lost. And the Jets lost.
There you go.
I mean, I do get it. And I can't argue with any of the teams out there that you have right now.
Back-to-back number 1. That kind of dominance, you start calling them Alorama.
Oh, that's just horrible.
Find the wimpy horn. Is the wimpy horn on my thing?
Yeah.
Do you guys have it? You have the wimpy horn?
Someone find it.
Alorama.
There we go. By the way, the Rams only have 2 sacks this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and
just
they threw
amazing.
a shutout.
But I don't.
Man.
Do you have a problem with any of the 5?
I would have to think long and hard. I'm still 4 new teams.
Well, there's only 2 other teams that would have qualified because they're 2-0. That would be the Denver Broncos and the Miami Dolphins.
And so the team that you referenced that's saying a team who didn't lose last week found their way out, the Vikings go from 2 to also receiving votes.
Listen.
A crushing blow for a team that suffered what could have been a loss had it not been for an untimely penalty.
And what could have been a win if they had a kicker or just done what the Rams did and say, we don't play with kickers.
I don't have a problem with this. Rams should be one. KC, their offense is on fire. Jacksonville, just look what they did to New England and how good they looked. The Bucks, I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick and that offense in Cincinnati, you mentioned, averaged 34 points a game.
Now, look, once we get 4 or 5 weeks in the season, losses will not disqualify a team.
Right.
But as long as teams are winning and it's a week-to-week thing,
I want winners. Right. I want people that want to win.
That's the only way this can work, folks. That's the only way this can work, according to me, in my sphere.
All right,
so there you have it. We'll do this every Wednesday, and hopefully it won't be nearly as upsetting as it might have been today.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits separate, sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store at jcp.com for coupon and details.
Love scoring amazing hotel deals? Then you've got to use Hotel Tonight. Forget scrolling through never-ending lists of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book these sweet deals in advance for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. Want to get those deals? Yeah, you do. Something better just came along. Hotel Tonight.
Listen, Cliff has had good days.
Yeah.
Today might be his
good
best
one.
day. Quiet Riot. Oh, is this Twisted Sister? Twisted Sister. That's right. Twisted Sister. D. Snyder. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including our next guest, Super Bowl champion Bill Curry, and an all-around great guy joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Bill, good morning. Thanks for being with us. We're trying to deal with a complicated issue that was brought up in a letter Eric Dickerson sent to the NFL, the NFLPA, and the Hall of Fame about potentially boycotting future Hall of Fame ceremonies if the Hall of Famers, the letter specifically said, only Hall of Famers get health insurance and a share of revenue. He then went on to say, we're doing this for all players, but only after the Hall of Famers get to it first. What's your reaction to what he's trying to do?
Well, it's like everything else that happens in our sport. Football is unique. And as both Mikes know from having their faces smashed the way we all did, and I'm not complaining about that. We knew we were grown-ups when we signed the contracts. But it is different from any other sport. And so these issues that come up are also different. The degree of difficulty that older players have in our business is different than the other sports. And so when you try to compare sports and compare our issues and you look at what the Hall of Famers are asking for, you can't deny that there's a lot of merit in what they say, and I don't blame them at all. What I would suggest is that they get busy and get properly organized so they got their act together and they're all singing from the same hymnal.
Again, we're talking to Bill Curry. I called games many years with Bill, great friend of mine now. Really enjoyed my time with Bill. For those that may not know, Bill was at the center for Bart Starr, the center for Johnny Unitas. Bill coached for a number of years in college. Bill also, for a while, was the president of the NFLPA, and he and his former teammate John Mackey are credited with a lot of pay increases and also working conditions in the NFL. So Bill has a history in this. So, Bill, how about the part of it, and I don't want to get hung up on too much because I'm sure you're not going to agree, where it's just for the Hall of Famers first instead of all the players. I mean, that I think rubs a lot of me's and should be maybe used, and Mark Schlereth and a lot of others the wrong way of saying they're doing it just for the Hall of Famers first and then worrying about the rest of the players.
Well, from the very beginning, and by the way, in terms of who gets credit for getting the benefits, some of the benefits, John Mackey is the guy that deserves the credit, and he dragged the rest of us along. He was such a great leader, and I was honored to serve with him. My only time in Canton was in 1974. We were picketing the game because we were on strike to try to deal with what we call the Rozelle Rule and the freedom issues, and to improve pension benefits for the players. And it's always been for all the players. And I think if the Hall of Famers were to sit down with a group of the older guys who are not Hall of Famers and never will be, like us, unless they take you and Reggie White in as an entry, Mike, I think that's a possibility. I think that the guys would see it, that everybody needs to be included one way or the other.
Talking to Super Bowl champion Bill Curry on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you just mentioned there picketing, the things that you guys were going after as far as the pension. Sounds similar to the conversation now. When you heard the strategy that Eric Dickerson threw out there of specifically boycotting the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony, is that something that you think would have any power in this situation for them?
I don't know enough about it to have a strong opinion, but I think here again, if the players, the Hall of Famers are unified, and if everybody agrees to boycott, then yes, they have some power. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong because I don't know yet. I need to read about it, think about it. I need to speak with some of the guys that are actually involved before I have to start pontificating. But I think what you have to have is everybody sticking together. And nobody remembers this, and I don't expect them to, but in 74, our strike didn't work out because the league was able to break the strike and convince people to come to training camp. But as the litigation continued through the years and then the strikes began to take on the regular season, that's when wages changed enormously, as we all know. So I think it might sound like a cop-out, and it's just so complicated. It's easy to say, well, they ought to do this, they ought to do that. But the big thing that needs to happen is they need to get together, sit down with all of them, and then include the Players Association and other former players that are not Hall of Famers so that they have some unanimity and some strength.
One of the other things Bill Curry and I have in common, we both were part of failed strikes, him in 74, me in 1987 as well. Bill Curry joining us, played in the league from 65 to 74, coached in college for a number of years to be an ACC Coach of the Year once, two-time SEC Coach of the Year as well. All right, Bill, if they were smart, I know you wouldn't think so because you don't like talking about yourself, but if they said, all right, Bill, we are unified right now, Hall of Famers and non-Hall of Famers as retired players. And let's everybody else remember, retired players were not part of the union anymore. The union is for active players. We are not part of the union anymore. But they came to you, Bill, and they said, we are all unified, Bill. We want better health insurance for everybody. How do we go about doing it? What would your plan be?
Wow, that's so complicated, and I'm having flashbacks here because we had similar issues in 74, and you guys probably did in the 80s as well, because the old-timers resented us. They thought, well, you're not including us. And I was sent to meet with them, and, I mean, they were angry. I'm not going to call names, but certain Hall of Famers cornered me and poked me in the chest, and I had to finally concede, you know what, you're right. We need to represent you, too. So we try our best to include everybody that had played, and that's our familiar refrain. Anything that can include everybody is going to have a whole lot more strength, both with the league and with public. There's never going to be public sympathy. Let's not kid ourselves about that, because nobody understands what goes on inside the bodies of people who smash around for 10 or 15 years. But to have the empathy and the coordination of all the former players would be really important. And that's easy to talk about and really tough to do.
What, Bill, as we finish up, in your mind, what can be a true goal? We're talking about 5 years past as far as health insurance. Eric Dickerson talking about lifetime, which would be fantastic. That might be a bit of a pipe dream. To you, is there a fair number that you think former players should get from a health insurance standpoint?
Well, there's probably a number that the league would consider, although they may laugh at that right now and simply say they're not considering anything, and that's probably where the bargaining would begin. But if indeed the league agrees to consider the possibility, then there's probably a number that could be reached, but it'd be an awful lot of negotiation and perhaps the threat of a boycott of our greatest players. It just is going to take an awful lot of time and effort.
Bill, always appreciate your time. And I think maybe one more time you and I get back in the booth and maybe we can throw this guy at the right who was, about 10 years old when you in Syracuse running around on the field when you...
No, he was 12 years old. It was Mike Jr.'s 12th birthday. Are you about 14 now, Mike Jr.?
Just about, Bill. Just about.
The best thing about this story is that Bill had a more accurate representation of your son's age than you did of your own son.
That's true. Well,
that's how great Bill is. Yeah. Bill, we appreciate you being with us on a very important topic today.
Thanks, Bill.
And thank you so much for having me, and God bless the Golics.
Thanks, Bill. Love you, man.
All right.
Thanks, Bill.
Guess I'm out of it.
I love that man. Yeah. I said my father's the person I've always respected the most in my life, and there are two other guys I respect as much as John Story, one of my high school coaches, and Bill Curry for what he's meant to me and taught me over the years. He's an incredible man.
Yeah, he's a living, breathing piece of football history. Yep. You mentioned the names he played alongside, the things he was a part of. That is quite literally reaching into a lot of what we're talking about here is the players of the past wanting to be represented. He said it right there. These aren't original problems that we're dealing with right now. So a really interesting perspective.
Hopefully we can get an original solution more than anything else. Coming up, we've got a treat for longtime listeners of this fine programming. We'll get to that.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
It's the game show segment that's captivating a nation.
The origin is Latin. It has been sort of corrupted over time, like this show.
Making everyone that hears it smarter.
In the 1800s, English authors were likely to partake in opium den activities.
Now, with your host, researcher Brett.
Take a guess where that came from. Brett's got your answer.
It's Brettomology.
Here are the categories. Words and their meanings. That's straightforward.
Wow.
What's going on?
Wow.
What is going on here?
Sports Center brought to you by 1-800-Flowers.com. Nothing makes up for your football obsession like a fresh bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, 1-800-Flowers offering 36 autumn roses for $36. To order 36 autumn roses for just $36, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code Wingo.
All right, hold on a minute.
What's happening?
Golic and Wingo here with Mike and Mike Jr. Stanzik, this person is no longer here. Brett, we love him, but he's gone. What's going on here?
Trey, it's your birthday.
Oh, God.
And we got a gift for you.
Okay.
One more Brettomology.
Really? Nice. Really? Really?
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Wow.
All right.
Brett's doing this?
So Brett's doing. Yeah. Wait, who's Brett?
Yeah, exactly. Some guy.
Yeah. Someone called our hotline and left a Brettomology.
Oh. Okay.
I like this. Let's do it.
Hey guys, researcher Brett here. It's been 3 weeks since your last Brettomology, so I figured I'd leave one for you guys to enjoy on this Wednesday. An appropriate phrase. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Is it from the 16th century play, Sir Thomas More, written by Anthony Munday and Henry Chettle, but made famous because it was heavily revised and edited by friend of the program Bill Shakespeare. When the titular character Thomas More is killed by Henry VIII, the Earl of Shrewsbury comforts Lady More with this line of dialogue, but it's not clear who the actual author of the line was. Or from Alfred Lord Tennyson, the poet laureate of Great Britain under Queen Victoria in the first half of the 19th century. Many of his most famous works were eulogies, including In Memoriam, dedicated to his brother-in-law, which contains the line in question.
Wow.
Ooh.
So either my buddy Bill,
friend of the show,
or
Bill Shakespeare, who may never have existed,
or a poet that did eulogies.
Yeah.
Tennyson,
Sir Alfred Tennyson.
Whoever.
A.T.
Yeah. Tenny.
A.T.
They call him Tenny?
T-Man.
Tenny.
Big Al.
10 spot.
T-Guy.
Tenzi.
All right.
I'm going with two in the, so there was
Hang on, it's winner take all. Like Trey won, but now it's winner take all.
Oh,
Right, whoever
man,
gets
do
this
or
one
die
right is
right
the
here.
ultimate winner.
and there was no third one, like they're both wrong, right?
Correct.
This is either.
Okay.
I'm going, it sounds, quite honestly, it sounds like it could belong in a eulogy. So I'm going with the guy who did eulogies.
Tenny.
T-Man.
Tenzi.
Mm-hmm. Junior, what about you?
So that means I'm going with two.
I'm so inside my own head. I'm going one. Let's rock with Billy Boy.
All right.
Listen, sadly, I think I know this one. Oh. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's one. And it would be that way for Brett to do that because Bill Shakespeare, we're not sure if he ever existed.
Right.
All kinds of. I think he's doing. I'm going with one.
What are you guys doing?
What's the room doing?
I mean, we know the answer because he had to leave another voicemail.
Okay.
So we don't want to.
Boy,
it's winner take all here. Golic. Lots on the line.
I could be the lone winner, or these guys are co-winners.
Yeah.
What is it?
The correct answer, number 2. Yes, I swear it was an accident that I left Jerry off my goodbye email.
Penny! Me and the T-Man!
10 spot.
Me and the tenor! Woo! All part of the eulogy. What was the saying again?
I'm crushed.
Yes!
I'm crushed.
Yes!
Crushed, I tell you.
Hey, you know what they say, Trey? Better to have loved and lost.
Better to have played and not won than to have never played. There you go.
Wow.
How about
have your cake and eat it too, Trey?
Well, you can have your cake. You can't eat your cake and still have it. Come on. Wow, good for you, big boy.
Well,
good for you.
I'm smart like that. Listen, and Mike remembers this years ago when we would do our reading things over the summer. We studied Tennyson one summer and wrote papers on him. The T-Man.
Yeah. The summer of Tenny.
Yeah.
Summer of the tenors.
We've had the summer of Billy. Summer of the T-Man.
Man,
we've covered it all.
The T-Man was a particularly great summer. It was a hot summer. It was a dark summer. It was a summer that ended with a eulogy because that's what the T-Man does.
By the way, what we need now is if Furzy had one more captain's pick, it would be the T-Man.
Oh, man. Can you imagine AT on the Ryder Cup squad?
Although, to be honest, he'd probably go for the Euros. I mean, that's probably where he would be. As Sir Alfred Tennyson.
That was nice. I'm so excited we did that again.
What a birthday gift for you.
Yeah, that was
good.
Nice.
I'm not going to lie to you. Even though I got it wrong, I'm not going to lie to you. But when people said, what do you want from your birthday? I don't want anything for my birthday.
That's pretty good.
I wanted that.
That's pretty good.
Wanted that.
I wanted a cake, but, that didn't happen yet.
I thought you wanted winners, Trey.
Well, that's without question.
I want winners.
That would be
me.
I
want people that want to win.
And on my birthday, that is you.
I am the winner.
That is you. But we all won.
Yeah, we did.
For having one last time played. What was the name of that game?
Brettomology. Does anybody know what Brett's doing? Brett obviously isn't working because he can leave messages.
I think he's living in a van down by the river at this point.
Oh, right? Captain, my captain.
You know how they say find another job while you have a job?
Yeah.
Brett wanted out of here. He said, I'm going to get away. I don't have a job, but I'm out of this job.
I got nothing. I'm broke, and I'm still pulling the ripcord. Stay you, Brett. Stay you. Coming up, the loud out that has rocked the scales of justice in the greatest out in the history of Major League Baseball. Stay Wingo.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified